we are looking at welcome to this continuations of complex number. So we are looking at the properties of complex number. Okay, and the first one I want to mention is when you have the topic is I'm looking at the conjugates of a complex number. Sorry for that, conjugates of a complex number. So that's the first thing we're looking into, conjugates of a complex number. And after that, we take the properties of the conjugate of a complex number. Okay. Let's say you have a complex number z, a complex number z, a complex number, okay, which is x plus y I. So you have the real part, and then you have the imaginary part. The imaginary part is what? It's this is y. That's the imaginary part. Okay. So in that case now, the conjugate has the symbol of this. Just put a bar on this symbol. So x z bar. And when you are doing what we are doing on the conjugate is very simple. It's just you just go to the imaginary part and change the sign in that part, and that'll be minus y. That's the what? That's what we call the conjugates. Okay. Let me buttress more again. Imagine you have another complex number a plus bi. Okay. This is your real part, and this is what imaginary parts. So the conjugate will be what? This is a symbol for conjugates, and that will be equal to what? Just come here, come to the imaginary part, and what? And reverse the sign there, and that will be what? A minus what? A minus bi. Okay. So let's take the properties of conjugates. Let's see some features of conjugates of a complex number. The first one I want to explain to us is you have conjugates of a complex number. I mean conjugate of a conjugate of a complex number. Conjugates of a conjugate of a complex number will give you what? Will give you the complex number. Imagine, for example, now you have 8 plus 2i. Okay, the conjugates, and then another one again. So it's going to give you the complex number 8 plus 2i. Let's try to solve it. The first part, solve the first one. The inner conjugates. That'll be what? That'll be 8 minus 2i. This sign will change. Okay. Then the external one, the one on top. Now do that one now. So we've done this one. So if you do it, it's going to give you what? 8 plus what? The conjugate of this one, what? 8 plus 2i. So that's that. So conjugate of a complex number will give you the what? The complex number. 2. When you have conjugate of a product of two complex number, let's say you have z1, z2. The conjugate of these two complex number will be what? Z1 conjugates times Z2 conjugates. Okay. The third one is when you have conjugates, you have a complex number times its conjugates times its conjugates. It's going to give you absolute value, or the modulus. It's going to give you the square of the absolute value of that complex number. Okay. Let's have this. You have 3 plus 4i times its conjugates. 3 plus 3 minus 4i. So it's going to give you, don't forget what we mean by modulus. This is also seen as modulus. Okay, you can call it modulus or absolute value. This line. Okay, so this is going to give you the absolute value of that complex number, which is 3 plus what? 3 plus 4i, the square. So what is the meaning of modulus or absolute value? Absolute value means square root, the real parts, you square that. The imaginary parts, you also what? You square that. Okay, and then you square, take the square of that. And that will give you the square. We remove the square root. That will be what? That will be 9 plus 4. That's what? That's 25 for that part. Okay, we're going to be using this third one for quotient of two complex number. Okay, we're going to be using that for quotient of two complex number. It will make the work faster. Let's take one more. Welcome on board. You're just coming in, please click on the watermarks on the video, subscribe to the channel so you can type your question. Type your questions. You can forward fresh questions. I promise to respond to those questions as soon as possible. Okay, so let's see the fourth one. The fourth one is when you have conjugate of two complex number. Okay, for the sum, this is going to give you what? It's going to give you this one plus what? Plus this one. Let's see illustration for this one. You have 8 plus 2i. That's your complex number. That's the first one. Then plus another one, maybe 4 plus 5i. Okay, and then the conjugates of those two, sum of those complex number, and it's going to be what? 8 plus 2i plus what? Plus 4 plus what? 5i. Okay, so that's that on that properties of complex properties of a conjugate of a complex number. So this will take us to quotients. Okay, quotient rule quotient of a complex number. Quotient of a complex number. Quotient of a complex number. So welcome on board. You're just coming in, please smash the subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel so you can forward your question. Subscribe to the channel. You can forward your question. So we're looking at quotients. Quotients of a complex number. So what do we mean by quotient? Is when you have a complex number, two complex number, that is a fraction. You have the numerator. This is your numerator. This is your denominator. Okay. When you have a quotient, you have a fraction. Okay, for two complex number. The first thing you do is to get the conjugate of the denominator and use it to multiply the numerator and denominator. So write your question. And then times what? The conjugate of this denominator is c minus di over c minus di. Okay? So you can see this one, the denominator now. They are what? The denominator. They are the same thing. But this one is the conjugate of this one. So we're going to apply this method, that complex number z times its conjugate is going to give you what? Absolute square of the what? Of the absolute value of that complex number. So this will be equal to what? This will be equal to A plus BI. This one times this one. And then times this one will be what? This one will be square roots of C squared. Don't forget, make it this way. The complex number is what? Is C plus DI. So absolute value and then square. That will give you what? You can do the expansion for this one times this one, AC. This one times this one, that's a plus CDI. And then this one times this one, that's plus CBI. And then finally, I times I, that's minus 1 BD all over. This one will give you C squared plus D squared. Okay? The absolute value, don't forget, note this one, C plus DI, the absolute value will be equal to what? Square root of the real part, square of the real part plus what? Square of the imaginary parts. And don't forget what we have here, square here. So it will remove these square roots. And we have that. So that's what we're going to be using to do our questions. So that's that on these quotients of two of a complex number. Okay, so that's what we have. So next thing you can do is to factorize this I. Okay, factorize that I, and that will be equal to what? AC minus BD. Okay, then plus I into brackets what? CD minus what? CB, but what? The denominator. So that starts on that. Welcome on board. Welcome on board. Keep typing your questions. Keep typing your questions. So let's now play with questions now on the quotient of a complex number. Let's play with questions. Welcome. Keep typing your question. And before you can do that, you need to subscribe to the channel so you can forward your question. Okay. Let's see the first one we have here. We have the first one, 3 minus so that's the first one we have there. The total evaluates the following. So that's the first one. Okay, if you look at it now, this is the denominator. We have square of that. So we're going to solve this one first. Solve this one first. And if you do that, it's going to give you 2 squared, that's 4, plus this one times this one, that's 2i, times 2, that's 4i. And then plus what? The last one, I squared. So that's giving us what? That's giving us, this will be minus 1. So that'll be 3 minus 4i. Okay? This one is minus 1. So 4 minus 1, that's 3. So the question will now become this one, 3 minus 4i. Or what? This one is what? This one is 3 plus 4i. Okay, sorry for that, plus 4i. And that will be over 3 plus 4i. So that's what we have now. So then the conjugate of this one is denominator. The conjugate is what? Is 3 minus 4i. That's what? 3 minus 4i. Okay. And the question is that evaluates and expressed in form of a plus pi. So that's what we have now. Then the next thing to do now is to, this one will give us what? This one times this one, that's 9. 3 times minus 4i, that's minus 12i. 4i times 3, that's so minus 12i. Minus times minus, that's plus. And that this one times this one, that's 16i squared all over. This one, you are multiplying the complex number times its conjugates, and that will be just equal to what? 3 squared plus what? Plus 4 squared. I've said it that whenever you have complex number times its conjugate, it's going to give you square of the what? Of the square of the absolute value of that complex number. And that's what we apply in this place. So this will be equal to, this one will be what? I square is minus, so that will be 9 minus 16, that's minus 7, and then minus 24 I all over, this will be 16 plus 9, that's 25. So that's our answer. So you can leave it in this form, minus 7 over 25, and then minus 24 over 25 I. Okay, another way you can also leave it, if you are told to leave it in form of a plus b I. So this will be your answer. Okay, you can also express it in this form, minus 7 minus 24 I. Let's see another question. Let's see another question. We're told to evaluate in the form a plus b I. The second one we have here, question 2, we have this question. We have 1 minus I over what? 1 plus I or square. So what we do is to, for now, let's forget the square for now. So this will be equal to, use the conjugate to multiply both the top and the denominator, which will be 1 plus I times its conjugate, that's 1 minus I, and then 1 minus I times the conjugate, that's 1 minus I. Okay, and this will be equal to, this will give you 1, this one times this one, that's 1, and this one again times this one, that's minus I, this one again times this one, that's also minus I, and then minus times minus, that's plus I squared all over what? All over. This one is just 1 squared plus what? Plus 1 squared. Okay, if you don't forget z times its conjugates, the square of the absolute value of that complex number. So apply that, you get that. So this I squared is minus 1, so that's minus 1. So this one and this one we cancel. So we have minus 2I over what? Over 2. So this one we cancel. So we have what? We have minus I of square. Okay, so which is something as what? Which is something as minus 1 square times what? Times I square. So this will be positive, this will be 1. Okay, and then this is what? Minus what? Minus times minus 1. So the answer is what? It's minus 1. Okay, don't forget this will be positive, that's 1, and then times minus I squared is minus 1. So that's minus 1 for that question. Okay, let's see another question also. See the same question, evaluate in the form of what? A plus b, bi. So if you want to do that, that means the answer is going to be, actually the answer is minus 1, but you want to have the real part and want to have the imaginary part. So it's going to be minus 1 plus 0, 0i, which you are expressing in that format. Okay. Another question we have here is I so that's another question we have. Welcome on board. You're just joining us. Please smash the watermarks. Subscribe to the channel. Type your questions. You have to subscribe so I can what you can have the privilege to forward questions. Type your questions. Okay, for your own questions on this segment. Okay, and I assure you to make a live section on those questions. Okay, so this is what we have on this question. Now, what we can do first is for us to we're told to evaluate in the form a plus bi. So the first thing we do is to remove this I2. This one will be what? That will be I squared times I times the 1 minus 3i. So that's the first thing to do. And don't forget, I3 will give you what? Will give you minus 1 minus that will give you this I squared minus 1. Okay, so that's minus I. That's minus I. So and that will be equal to what? 1 plus 2i over. If that's I said minus I, is it to open these brackets? That'll be what? Minus I. Okay, and then minus times minus, that's plus 3 what? 3i squared. So that's giving us what? This will give us minus 3. That'll be minus 3 minus what? Minus I. 1 plus what? 1 plus 2i. So use the conjugate of this one to what I did there is just to have the real part first before the imaginary parts. So use the conjugate of this one to multiply the top and the bottom. And that will be equal to what? That will be equal to minus 3 plus I times what? Minus 3 plus I. Okay? And that will be equal to, then you can now do the expansion. That will be 1 times this first one times the brackets. Okay, then plus 2i times what? Times the second, the brackets all over. This one will just be what? The complex number is what? That will be 1 square plus what? Plus 3 square. Okay, so you save your time if you follow you use this rule, this identity. Complex number times its conjugate is going to give you square of the what? Of the absolute value of that complex number. So open the brackets. That's what? Minus 3 plus I. This one times this one, that's a plus 6i. This one times this one, that's what? That's plus 2i squared all over 10. Okay. So this one will going to give us minus 2. That's minus 2, making minus 5. Making minus 5. Minus 5. And then this one and this one, there's no problem, there's no mistake there. That's plus 7i. Plus 7i over 10, which is same thing as what? Minus 5 over 10, that's minus 1 over 2, and then plus what? 7 over 10 I. So let's quickly review what we have done so far in this question. The first thing we did is the I cube, which is simple as what? Minus I. I squared is what? Is minus 1 times I. That's minus I. So use it to multiply the denominator. So if you do that, it's going to give you minus I, and then minus I. I hope there's no mistake there. Minus I times 1 minus 3i. That will give us minus I. Another times minus, that's a plus 3I squared. So at the end of the day, I squared is minus. So that will give us what? That will give us minus 3 in this place. Minus what? Minus I. That's correct. So use a conjugate to multiply the top and the what? And the bottom. The top and the bottom. So the conjugate is what? Minus 3 plus what? Plus I. Okay? So that's what we've done. For the denominator, it's going to give us what? If you apply these properties of conjugate of a two complex number, we're going to have what? 1 plus what? 1 plus 3 squared. Okay? 1 plus 3 squared. So the complex number here is going to be minus 1 squared. That'll be minus 1 squared plus what? Plus 3 squared, which is same thing as what? As this. Okay? So that will be what? 1 times this one. We have that 2I times this one. We have that. Then open the brackets. That'll be what? This one times this one. This one times this one. That's I. This one times this one. That's minus 6 I. And then this one times this one. That's plus 2I. And that's what we have in that case. Okay. So if you are just coming in, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can forward your question. Okay, you can also partake in discussion. Okay, with the speaker. Type your questions, forward your comments, click on like button. Thank you for doing that. So we still have questions more on these aspects. Let's see another question. We still have another one. Another question we have is this one. So that's what we have in this case to express in form of a plus bi. What we are going to do, the step one, is we're going to get this expansion, 2 plus I power 3. Let's get the expansion of that. I'm going to use binomial expansion for that. And that will be equal to what? 3 combination 0. Okay, then 2 to the power 3. Okay, then plus 3 combination 1, 2 to the power 2, then I, then plus 3 combination 2, 2 to the power I square, then 3 combination 3, I3. Okay, that's the binomial expansion for that. Then we are going to have 3 combination 0 is 1. So we have 8 in this place. That's 8. Okay, then plus this one, 3 combination 1 is 3 times 2 to the power 2, making that 12I. 3 combination 2 also is also 3 times 2 times 2. That's 6. That's minus 6. I squared minus 1. Finally, 3 combination 3 is 1. So that would be what? That would be minus what? That would be minus I. So that would be minus I. Okay? Because I cube is I squared times what? Times I. So this one is minus 1 times this one. So that's what we have. So that will be 2 plus 11I. 12I minus I. That's that. So we have the numerator. Okay? So that's 2 plus 11I. For the denominator, do the expansion. That will be 9 minus this one times this one. That's 3I times 2. That's 6I. And then plus what? I squared. So, and that will be equal to 2 plus 11I over, this one is minus 1. So that's minus 1. That's 8 minus, that's 8, 9 minus 1, that's 8. So we have this. Okay, so use this one, I mean the denominator, to multiply both the top and what? And the bottom, both the numerator and denominator. So 2 plus this, we have this. The conjugate of this one is what? Is 8 plus 6i. So use the conjugate to multiply both the top and the bottom, the numerator and denominator. So we're going to have now, let's do the expansion. We have 2 times this one, that's 16. And 2 times this one, that's a plus 12i. This one times this one, that's a plus 88i. And then plus 11 times 6, that's 66. Then this one, I squared. Okay, so I can change what? I can change this one to minus. And then this I will cancel. Okay, all over. This will be 8 squared plus 6 squared. Okay, so 16 minus 66, that's a 50. Then this will be plus 100i all over. This one, 8 squared, that's 64. 3 squared, that's what? 36, making 100. Making 100, so that's what we have there. So that will give us 50 over 100, that's 1 over 2, and then plus what? Plus I. So 1 over 2 plus I. Okay, 1 over 2 plus I. So that's the answer for that question. Okay, let's see if we can take one more questions. Let's see if we can take one more questions. Take one more questions. I think that's all. That's all we have for these quotient of a complex number. Let me check my material. Let's see another questions. There are some questions there. Let's see some questions there. Okay. Evaluate. So that's all we have for this question. We're going to evaluate x and y. If this expression, if x plus iy equal to 3 minus I over 1 plus I. So we have to find x and y. So what we're going to do for this one is to cross multiply. If you cross multiply, you're going to have 3 minus I equals what? 1 plus I times what? Times this one. So cross multiply. So what we're going to do now, there's nothing you can do on the right side. Do the expansion of this one, which will be 1 times this one. 1, the first one, times this one. Then plus the second one, I, times this one. Okay? So open your, for the right hand side, we have this one times this one. Then this one times this one, that's I, x. This one times this one, that's I squared, making minus y. So we can bring together the real parts, factorize the imaginary parts. That's I is common. So we have what? We have y plus x. Okay? So that's what we have there. That's what we have there. 3 minus I. So what we are going to do now, we can make this one to be x plus y. So you can make it to be x plus y. You take yeah. So that's that. Then equate the two equations together, equate the real part together, and then the imaginary parts together. The real part is x minus what minus y equals what? Equals to 3. The imaginary part, the attachment to your I is what? Is x plus y. The coefficient of your I on the left side is what? Is minus 1. So we'll solve those two equations and then we'll get the x and y. So that will be equal to, call this one equation 1, call this one equation 2. So add equation 1 plus 2. Equation 1 plus 2, that will be 2x. If you add them together, y we cancel. Equal to what? Equal to 2. So x is equal to what? X is equal to 1. X is equal to 1. So once we get to your x now, you can substitute into either 1 or 2. So that will be what? X plus x minus y equal to what? 3. So x is 1 minus y equal to what? 3. So move this y to the other side. So we have 1 minus 3 equal to what? Equal to y. And that's what? That's minus 2. So that's that on that question. So please just come in, click on the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel so you can type your question. Okay, forward your question, forward your comments. I promise to respond to your questions as fast as possible. Thank you for doing that. Okay.